now for your feature presentation.
One, or two, or three, or four, but five, force five.
What's up, listeners, and welcome to the scariest edition of the Force 5 podcast. It's time for the third annual Halloween special, that time of year when I get the experts of horror onto the show to give some recommendations so that your Halloween is packed with amazing things to watch. I'm your host, Jason Kleberg, and today's guest is film director Jill Gevargizian, whose horror film The Stylist should be on your watch list this season, and we're going to talk more about that here in a little bit. To me, Halloween is such an awesome time of the year. I mean, here in California, you see those decorations start popping up at Target, and you know that the unbearably hot season is just about over because almost on Halloween, like clockwork, it starts cooling off from the summer. Last Halloween, my family and I all went as characters from Into the Spider-Verse. The kid went as Miles Morales, my wife, Ghost Spider, and I went as the schlubby sweatpants-wearing Peter Parker. It was a lot of fun. So I asked my kid this year, I said, hey, what do you want to be? And he said, Spider-Man. I was like, you were Spider-Man last year. And he said, I'm going to be Spider-Man every year. So, hey, let's do it. I'm not sure what I'm going to be yet. I'm curious as to what some of my listeners' costumes will be. So let me know on Instagram, let me know on Twitter. Now, before we get into the tricks and the treats, last week Wayne G from Recasted and I talked some of our favorite baseball movies to prepare for the Major League Baseball playoffs. And with a topic that deep, of course, we were going to leave a few off of our lists that needed to be on there.
Not in the top 5. Did they get it right?
Excuse my language.
Okay.
Hell no. I can't believe. Who made that list? Who made that? That's blasphemous.
Don't look at me.
That's blasphemous.
All right, what did we miss? Dinosaur Leaf said Cobb with Tommy Lee Jones. Fudge Supreme 22 said Rookie of the Year. User AAAHHH said Field of Dreams. And of course, we did not have Field of Dreams. We mentioned why on that show. D-Bob 822 said Angels in the Outfield. Let's see. St. Patty 93 said Angels in the Infield. Okay, I guess if that's what you like. Summer Catch was mentioned by the Greyhound, and Lazy Dog Chicken Tenders said Blue Skies Again, which is a movie that I had not heard of before this. If you want more baseball movie recommendations over on Letterboxd, if you go to letterboxd.com/force5, I have created a list of what I believe is the definitive baseball movies list. There are 137 baseball films on this list, ranging from the Field of Dreams and the League of Their Owns to baseball movies that maybe people haven't heard of, like Death in the Diamond or The Kid from Left Field or Up for Grabs. There's a lot of stuff on there. So if you're looking to get into some more baseball movies, go over to letterboxd.com/force5 and check out my list of definitive baseball movies. Now, I've been watching some scary stuff since the last time I talked to you. If you want to hear me absolutely decimate Halloween Ends, you can hear that review over on the Patreon feed, patreon.com/force5, or head to force5podcast.com for that. Today, though, I'm going to talk about something that I actually liked and would really recommend to people this season, and that's Disney's Werewolf by Night.
This Halloween, you can't escape the shock, the terror of Werewolf by Night.
Tonight, it is every hunter for themselves.
Good luck. I'll be rotting for you.
But one of you is a monster, masquerading as one of our own. I can't wait to find out what breed of evil you are.
Marvel has put so much content out on Disney Plus that for somebody who's pretty busy, it's nearly impossible to keep up. Now, I have seen Hawkeye, I've seen Captain America and Winter Soldier, I've seen WandaVision, and I've seen a little bit of What If, but I haven't seen Moon Knight, She-Hulk, or any of the other things they've released. It's just a big time commitment. Even at like 6 or 8 episodes, you're looking at 6 or 8 hours. So when I heard about Werewolf by Night, I thought it sounded really cool, but I wasn't ready to sink 6 or 7 hours into a new show. Imagine my surprise when I found out that this was not a series, but rather a true television film at 53 minutes. So I put this one on, and right off the bat, you can see that this film is not like anything Marvel has ever put on Disney+. For starters, it's black and white. Now, the film takes place at Bloodstone Manor, home of the now deceased Ulysses Bloodstone. Ulysses Bloodstone is an interesting deep cut from the Marvel catalog, as his publication history was a rocky one. The character was introduced in 1975 in Marvel Presents and was set to be included in the Where Monsters Dwell series, but that comic was swiftly cancelled. After that, the Bloodstone story was just kind of wrapped, and then he reappeared in the Rampaging Hulk in 1977, where he was killed. The character has made appearances here and there throughout the years. In like 1999, he was in a Captain America book, but he's never had his own book. So how fitting that when he makes his MCU debut, he's already dead. Now, several monster hunters are congregating in the Bloodstone Manor Crypt, a place filled with relics and decorated with the heads of fallen monsters adorned to the walls. Among the monster hunters are Jack Russell, played by Gael Garcia Bernal, the daughter of Ulysses Bloodstone, Elsa, and then a couple of guys named Jovan, Azrael, Leorn, and Barrasso. After a brief introduction to the night's hunt, they're let into a labyrinth to kill a wild beast for the chance to leave with the Bloodstone, an ancient artifact that grants the wielder special protections. Because of the power it contains, the monster isn't the only thing they'll need to contend with. The power-hungry monster hunters are not going to let anything or anyone get in their way. Of course, some of these monster hunters have secrets of their own. I had a blast with Werewolf by Night. It's directed by Michael Giacchino, composer for Jurassic World, The Batman, Mission Impossible Fallout, Up, and many other Pixar films. And if you're worried about his lack of experience behind the camera, it's understandable. But rest assured, this man knows what he is doing. The film is shot wonderfully, featuring several scenes that are direct homages to the classic Universal monster movies and Hammer horror films. A scene in which one of the participants transforms into a werewolf was particularly impressive, as we see the shift happening in shadows against a wall. As expected, the music is amazing. The film is also much gorier than I expected coming from Marvel. Somebody gets their hand cut off, an arrow goes up through somebody's chin, and we see it, and there's a good amount of practical effects and blood, albeit black blood since the movie is shot in black and white, but hey, it's blood nonetheless. At only 53 minutes, I feel like I wanted more Werewolf by Night, but I really do love the short runtime. It's a breeze to watch and perfectly sets the tone for a spooky Halloween night. Keep your expectations in check, however. If you're a Marvel fan who only wants to see the latest superheroes flying around, this is not the Avengers. If you can appreciate old school, up-all-night horror films from the golden age of Hollywood, this film is going to be right up your alley. I highly recommend Werewolf by Night. Before we get to our spooky sponsors and our Halloween picks, I have to thank this week's newest Patreon subscribers who actually keep the show going. Shout out to two new executive producers on the show, Musa Mahmood and Peta Beta from the Middle Class Film Class podcast for putting their money where my wallet is, and Eric Peacock from the Soundtracker podcast, who is our newest 5 for 5 member. Thank you so much for supporting on Patreon. If you want to join in on the exclusive content, patreon.com/Force5. All right, roll those Halloween ads.
Make Halloween fun with one-stop shopping at Woolworth or Woolco for your Halloween needs. Costumes from $1.83 to $3.99, like $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, superheroes, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and a new favorite for girls, Holly Hobby. You can get wrapped candies of every kind, bubblegum, lollipops, fun-size candy bars. Get this Halloween record, sounds to make you shiver, just $1.89. Make Halloween fun and easy. Make just one stop at Woolworth or Woolco.
Once again, foolish friends, Freddy Krueger is on your phone. Dial this number now. I've got some tales to tell. Freddy's favorite bedtime stories. Dead-time stories. All brand new, straight from my boiler room to your home. It's Freddy Krueger on your phone. So dial this number now if you dare. Tell him Freddy sent you.
$2 the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. Children, get your parents' permission before you dial.
Yes, you can talk to Freddy before bed if you don't want to wait until you're asleep. The number is 1-900-909-FRED. That's 1-900-909-FRED. And tell him the Force 5 podcast sent you for a special Dead Time story. Welcome back to the Force 5 podcast and the third annual Halloween special. This show is always one of my favorite shows to do. Last year I was joined by horror writer Mike Thorne, and who better to follow up that show than with Jill Gevargizian. She's a producer and director whose debut horror feature, The Stylist, was nominated for Best Debut Feature at this year's Fangoria Chainsaw Awards and won or was nominated for awards at all kinds of other film festivals. Jill, congratulations on the success of The Stylist.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the show, especially the Halloween edition. That's a huge honor.
I'm so excited to have you on for this episode. And when I reached out, I was really glad that you chose to be the guest for this one. Listeners, look, Jill and I are going to give you some awesome Halloween picks for the spooky season, but if you have not seen The Stylist yet, pause the podcast, go start with that film. I think it's best gone into blind. I'm just going to say about the movie that it's a really unique portrait of a serial killer, and it's got an ending that rocks. You will never look at the person who does your hair the same way after you see this film. Just a dynamite first feature. And obviously I'm a proponent of physical media, and Arrow, one of the best Blu-ray production houses that's in production right now, has a Blu-ray out. It's amazing.
Thank you.
How did it feel, Jill, to hold a Blu-ray of your very own film in your hands for the first time?
Oh my God, it was so surreal. I mean, it still feels like, I don't know if any of this is really happening or not. And then to work with a company, like you said, that is just, I mean, what they're known for is putting out these pristine, special editions of films we've known for a long time. They're just now kind of getting into the newer films. So when I first heard that we had an offer from Arrow, I just screamed and told the rest of the gang, I was like, I doubt a better offer is going to come in. These people, they love films clearly based on what they put out. And it's this will be a company we can trust, and it'll be so exciting to work with. And then look what the hell they did for us. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah, and it's a great disc. It's packed with special features, from shorts to a commentary by you, deleted scenes. There's just so much stuff on there.
So much stuff. A lot of behind the scenes, the making of, and we were already working on putting those behind the scene featurettes together, which there's a whole I can't even remember now, 8 or 10 of them. And all with different subjects, and we were already putting them together before we knew where they'd end up. So when Arrow came along, that's again why I was like, oh my gosh, they're the special features, fucking royalty. We've got to do this.
No doubt. Yeah, it's a great disc. Now, obviously, horror films aren't everything that you watch. So, and just from watching The Stylist, I assume you were influenced by Brian De Palma.
Yes.
What are some of your favorite films that might not come up on a Halloween recommendation list?
It's funny because this question also, for me, always raises that silly debate that the horror community has. What is a horror movie versus thriller?
Sure.
A lot of De Palma films, like you brought up. Because I also think about Fincher's one of my favorite directors that is argued, is it horror or thriller? It's everything.
Yeah.
Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet's one of my favorites, which I feel like once you know it, you then can see that maybe in The Stylist also. It's my Shakespearean tragedy in a way. I love sad movies and really emotional stuff. In more recent films, Moonlight rocked my world. Fucking became one of my favorite movies of all time instantly. Sling Blade is another huge one. I feel like I could go all over the place. Martin Scorsese's work from back to the 70s to now. As much as I love horror, I also love really emotional, character-focused storytelling. American Honey is another newer one that I really, really rocked me.
I haven't seen that one yet. I need to.
You've got to check it out. It turned me on to that director, Andrea Arnold, and I sought out her previous work, and one of her short films, I believe, was Oscar nominated. And
oh wow,
her work is just so raw. I mean, it is incredible the way she captures stuff. You feel like this can't even be acting, but it's not I mean, it's a narrative, but it's just so real. It's unbelievable.
All right, I'll put that one on my list. Well, Jill, let's talk Halloween. Before we get into our tricks and our treats, are there any Halloween traditions that you and your family have that you do every year?
Well, I like to do a lot of I feel like cheesy things that maybe a lot of people do, like on actual Halloween. Now, I'm not trying to make myself sound like I'm 90, but now that I'm not 21 anymore and like super concerned with going to a bar or a party on Halloween night, I'm now most excited to pass out candy and like decorate my house extra scary
Nice.
to the point that I've had like kids too scared to even walk up to my door, and I'm not even doing that much yet, honestly. Um, but I love to pass out candy and decorate the house.
That's awesome.
And I normally just put on a witch costume and sit out front.
All right, cool. Witch costume, that's cool. Any other like favorite costumes that you've had for Halloween other than the witch?
I've done a lot of them, but I guess one of my favorites might be when I did a Leatherface one year, and Chainsaw's my favorite
Nice.
horror movie. But I am not good at special effects makeup, let's say that. But I attempted to make a mask out of latex, so I actually like put all this weird shit on my face to make it look like skin. Um, and just I have this apron that's covered in blood that I still bring out from time to time. You can repurpose it for so many costumes.
Sure. Well, Leatherface, that's another piece of influence for the stylist, I think. Somebody wearing somebody
Absolutely.
else's, yeah. Oh, that's all I'll say. All right. Halloween special. Jill, are you ready to get to this list tonight?
I am ready.
You know what's gonna happen? Oh, you know what's happening to me right now? Huh? You know what's gonna happen? Words? You just made the list! Top five. The top five.
As we do for the Halloween special, we're going to be giving a recommendation each for specific categories. These categories change every year, but this year our categories are a slasher film, a film about something possessed, which can be a person, an animal, an inanimate object, literally anything, a vampire movie, a creature feature / monster movie, and then finally the last one is a wildcard recommendation. Literally whatever you want to throw out there for that category we can do. So Jill, I'll ask you, which category do you want to start with?
Oh man. Which one to start with? That's I don't even know. Let's start with something possessed.
Something possessed. All right. Why don't you give us your pick for something possessed?
This is one of my favorite movies, period. Okay, that sounds ridiculous. Idle Hands.
It's my hand. It makes me do things I don't want it to do. Columbia Pictures presents The Touching. Sorry about your bush. Stirring.
What you doing? CPR, man. I saw it on Baywatch.
Gripping story
Okay, that wasn't my fault.
of a boy and his hand.
Kinky.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Idle Hands.
That's Shewan's best costume.
Rated R.
I love that you can describe it as a satanic stoner horror comedy. I'm not like a huge horror comedy person, but this would be my favorite for sure. Devin Sawa, you grew up a huge fan of him. Seth Green, Jessica Alba, this whole cast is crazy. All
Oh, I
people at
forgot
the
she was in that.
beginning of their careers, and his hand becomes possessed, and the whole idle hands are the devil's playthings is the whole concept of the film, and he cuts off his hand, and it fucking all shit ensues from there. And I learned that the hand, a million years later, I learned that the hand is the same actor who did the hand in the Addams Family. And
No
I'm like, wow,
kidding.
this is like a special talent. And how do they green screen out his whole body in the whole fucking movie? It's incredible. But no, to the movie itself, it's fucking hilarious. I just think it's so much fucking fun. Like the opening, Sawa's, sorry if it's spoiler alert, this movie's 30 years old, people. But Sawa's parents have been killed and he's a stoner, and it takes like days for him to even realize it. And it's just so fucking great. The effects are incredible. It's so much fun.
Hey, I'm putting this on my October viewing list. Idle Hands it came out in 1999.
By Rod Funder. I got to meet him at a festival, and I must have probably freaked him the hell out. I was so geeked out. I was like, dude, this is the best movie. It needs to become a little bit more of a cult classic at this point. Like everyone thinks of Devon Sawa and Final Destination, but this one is fucking incredible.
Yeah, the touching story of a boy in his right hand. Amazing tagline. It's funny that you picked a horror comedy for your Something Possessed, because I also picked a horror comedy for my Something Possessed. This is probably one of my more ridiculous picks. And this is from 1990. It's a movie called I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle.
Most good motorcycles run on gasoline. This is a bad motorcycle. It runs on blood. Unfortunately, the bike's previous owner is now dead.
£1.5 a bit heavy for a crashed bike.
Ah, the bike's not been crashed. The last owner didn't die on it. Had an accident with a crossbow.
Nick Uddy is the machine's new legal owner, but he will never have true possession of it because it's already possessed by someone or something else.
Have you seen this movie before?
No, I have not even heard of it.
Okay, this is a real goofy one. The tagline on this is most motorcycles run on petrol. This one runs on blood. It's a British movie. It's a British horror comedy. It stars Neil Morrissey from the British show Men Behaving Badly, and he's also probably most known as the UK voice of Bob the Builder. It also has Amanda Noor, who wasn't really in much after this, aside from a couple of episodes of a TV show. But it's about this motorcycle gang that kills this guy in the middle of like a satanic ritual, and the evil spirit that he was summoning, instead of inhabiting him, inhabits his motorcycle. And then the bike is bought and restored by a guy who has no idea of this thing's true nature. And the bike starts trying to exact vengeance on the gang and anybody else who gets in its way. It is a blast. It's a really amusing like vehicle run amok film in the same vein as like Maximum Overdrive or 1989's Blades. One of the things I like about this is that the motorcycle, it looks cool, but it also has a personality to it as it drives around and terrorizes people. It's got these like straw, almost like they're giant fangs, but they look like straws that come out next to its wheel, so it'll like prop itself up on something and then extend those things into somebody's neck. And it has some good practical gore in here. The comedy element is really goofy. I think some of it is like a lost in translation thing between British comedy and where I'm from, the United States. But you know what? I have an appetite for that sometimes. And one of my favorite bits, for example, like one of the pieces of comedy in here, is that the motorcycle flings a guy off after it runs itself into a car, and the guy flies through a window into a coffin, which then closes. Like that's the kind of comedy you're getting. There's also a dream sequence that needs to be seen to believe. I'm not even going to spoil what that dream sequence has in there. It's directed by a guy named Dirk Campbell, who I think this was his only theatrical feature-length film. He's still directing for TV currently, mainly like family-friendly sitcom stuff. But if you want something really light and really silly on Halloween, this is not going to be for everybody. But look, it's called I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle, and the title should tell you exactly what you're getting into. So that's my horror comedy, or my Something Possessed, the horror comedy I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle from 1990.
That does sound extremely silly and over the top.
It is.
Is it family friendly?
No, I wouldn't say it's family friendly.
Because sometimes I still do hair, and people ask me for younger recommendations, and it sounded like maybe, but maybe not. You're saying
it's a little gory, but I mean, if you're, if it's a 13 or 14-year-old, I would say it's probably safe. Any younger than that, probably not. Where are we going next, Jill?
Let's do vampire film.
All right, I guess that goes right in line with what I just did there, because my vampire motorcycle could have gone into that too. What's your vampire film for 2022?
This is a random, might be somewhat under the radar film called Kiss of the Damned.
I'm Paolo.
Trina. I have a skin condition where I can't be exposed to the sunlight.
Will you let me in?
I can't.
Is this about your illness?
Yes.
Whatever it is you have, I will deal with it. Just let me in. You're telling me you're a vampire?
What do you think happened last night?
Are you kidding me?
There's nothing to worry about. You're safe.
By Zan Cassavetes. Yes, John Cassavetes' daughter, and Gina Rowland, the iconic indie filmmaker and actor. I can't remember how I finally discovered, came upon this film. It's incredibly crazy, super sexy, kind of sleazy romance novel style vampire story.
Sure.
I
Which a
mean,
lot of those are,
I mean, it's that there's often in your vampire film, it's very sexy. There's some romance going on, and we've got gothic, settings and clothing. Everything is very sexy and romantic.
Yeah.
This is very much that. And there's two sisters who are vampires, and then there's a human man, and one of them falls in love with him. Of course, that's a common trope in vampire stories as well.
Uh-huh.
The tragedy of the vampire and the human that can't be together. And it is crazy sexy and is super stylish. Everyone in the film is so attractive. I should have written down their names. Dude from This Is Us is in it before he was in all that shit.
Okay.
What the hell's that?
Oh, I
The
know who you're
brunette
talking about.
guy.
Yeah.
Why can't I think
Yep,
of his name? Yes.
Milo Ventimiglia.
It's just sexy as all hell. There's jealousy and romance, and I can really fall for that kind of stuff. I'm gonna say it. I'll admit it. But it's also just super stylish, a really well made movie, and it's just I feel like embraces what it is, which is like I said, it reminds me of one of those romance novels with sexy people with their clothes falling off of them in the front, a woman in a corset. It's the whole thing. And it's well made. And I loved it.
All right, that's Kiss of the Damned. This is one that I haven't heard of. Initially, when you said the title, I was thinking of Queen of the Damned.
Yeah.
But
So many
this
damned.
is from yeah. That's a great pick. That's one of the reasons why I love doing these Halloween episodes, is because I always learn about something that I didn't know about before. And so I'm going to have to seek out Kiss of the Damned. The Cassavetes name has me interested already.
Yes, I mean, holy shit. And I just started watching John's directorial work. I have, of course, seen him, Rosemary's Baby, of course, we've all seen.
Sure.
But I would just started, someone turned me on to it and was like, you should really study his work, because I'm trying to look at certain stuff, and pretty incredible.
Yeah.
She's like filmmaking royalty.
I know, the pedigree there. That's great. Well, my vampire movie is it's the one that I think goes against type on our lists here. This is my Halloween pick for those people who don't necessarily love horror movies but want to watch something fun with splashes of horror film elements within, as trick-or-treaters come to the door. My vampire recommendation here is from 2022. It's a movie called Day Shift.
Vampire hunting is a business. Cut necks and cash your checks. Well, things have changed since you got your ass kicked out the union.
If I don't come up with 10K, my wife and my daughter are gonna move to Florida.
Hi, Dad. You're late again.
And the union is the only place that could give me that kind of money.
Your record is chock full of incidents. But he's a new man. One last chance. This is your final warning.
Let's get cracking.
Oh, no! Help me! Vampires just tried to kill me. Now I just pissed my favorite fucking show.
Hey, everybody pisses themselves the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you?
No, I didn't. But listen, you did.
It's Jamie Foxx as the lead. He's really, really great. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I'll say that it starts out with him arriving to this house as a pool cleaner. And as he goes into the backyard, we notice that this house has 4 air conditioners, all running full blast. and he has this bag. He pulls out an arsenal out of this bag and then breaks into the house, because we find out almost immediately that his job is just a front. He's a vampire hunter. The film does a really great job in building up this world where there's an underground vampire hunting union, complete with like their own guidelines, their own union reps, as well as the struggles that non-union vampire hunters face in that world. There's like different species of vampires. It just does a really good job of setting this world up for us. And Jamie Foxx is one of these guys who's not in the union, but he's trying to rejoin the union. And one of the vampires he's killed was the daughter of the San Fernando Valley vampire leader, and they want revenge. So that's like the setup for this movie. It's got great supporting roles from Dave Franco as Jamie Foxx's union rep. Snoop Dogg's in here in a really fun role as this grizzled old vampire hunter. Normally, I don't like him acting in movies, but I thought he was really, really good in this.
Nice.
It's just a great blend of action comedy, and it still has horror sensibilities with the way the vampires move and attack. The stunt people were actually all Cirque du Soleil dancers.
Oh,
and so
wow.
they're extremely bendable, and the stuff that they do, most of it is practical, and it looks fantastic. There's a pair of brother vampire hunters in here called the Nazarian Brothers. I would love to see a spin-off with these guys. One of them is Scott Adkins. I forgot the other guy's name, but they help Jamie Foxx out with this vampire house raid, and it's one of the coolest action scenes that I've seen this year. It's also got a great car chase if you're into action stuff. And it's got some killer needle drops, especially if you're a West Coast rap fan like me. From the beginning, we follow like Jamie Foxx's truck through the San Fernando Valley, and California Love is the first song playing. I knew I was in good hands. It's got Ice Cube, ODB, Ice-T, Snoop. So again, it's not straight up horror, but it has plenty of gore, a lot of nods to other horror films. Like even the last shot of the movie is a reference to the Lost Boys. And reviews have been mixed on this, but I had a lot of fun. And if you're into Blade, or I'd say even something like Fright Night, this is a really, really good time. That's a Day Shift from 2022.
Yeah, I've really been wanting to watch it.
You should. And this one, like I said, it's gory, but again, 13, 14-year-olds, I think you'll be all right watching this movie. All right, so we've got our something possessed movies on the board. We've got our vampire movies on the board. Where are we going next, Jill?
Let's go to slasher film.
All right, slasher. I know you love the slasher genre. So do I.
Yes,
what do you got
indeed.
for your slasher film?
I've got The Ranger from, I think it's 2018.
Stabbing a cop is serious time. Chelsea's got a place in the woods.
My uncle died there. You really want to be a part of this?
The classic outlaws. Yo, Chelsea, that guy bothering you?
The mountain's closed.
It's Chelsea's mountain. She's got a house up there. Chelsea, tell him.
How about that?
Yo, it actually exists. Here's being alive. Hey!
Do you remember me?
Have you seen the Ranger?
I have not even heard of The Ranger, so
Okay.
I am all ears right now.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a kind of, I feel like it was did decently well in the horror nerd world. Played festivals 2018, I can remember that for sure. But so yeah, it's about a group of punk rock kids that are like on the run from the police, and so they're out in this park and fucking off and destroying shit the way punk kids do. And there's a ranger in this park that takes the rules very seriously. So this movie
Oh,
is
that's a
like
great setup.
major comedy in it, horror comedy. And our, not to spoil things, but our main character, she has, you get to know her a little bit in the flashbacks and kind of the connections to this situation. But the kills are incredible. The characters are great. The Ranger is played by Jeremy Holm, who has done a lot of serious roles. He was in the first season of House of Cards, playing this like super evil character. I just got to work with him on a film, actually. He's the most incredible person to work with. But the Ranger is such a cool character. In fact, the character itself is so fun that it just like begs for a sequel. He's just like, when I say he takes the rules really seriously, it's very fucking funny. Like, he'll recite one of these, like, codes, like the number it is and the exact wording before he like kills somebody for doing something wrong, like they're not supposed to do in the park, like litter or whatever it might be. And it's just like the way that it's put together is just so iconic. Like, it's like begging to be like, a costume and like a thing that's just carried on. It's just such a great concept alone. This like guy saying these rules and killing people, and it's done so well. He has a very like Bruce Campbell vibe to him. This like, like a big strong
Oh,
jaw
cool.
and like just a great presence. It's so fun. And the lead actress, Chloe Levine, I believe is how I pronounce it. She is incredible. And it's just like, I feel like even Jen, the director, described it this way. It's like a Lisa Frank meets 80s punk slasher, like horror comedy. So it's just so fun, like very colorful, really cool designed film that's just a blast and super gory. So much fun.
The Ranger from 2018.
Yes.
I gotta find this. I had not heard of it. I just looked it up while you were talking, and just the poster alone. Oh, the poster's amazing.
It's so awesome.
Okay, I gotta find that. As far as I can see, it's not on Blu-ray, which is a little disappointing. I'll have to see if it's streaming, but I'm excited to check that out. My slasher, it's actually, you gave me a good segue, because my slasher is also a lot of fun, very colorful, and has those throwback, like the throwback vibe mentality. It's from 2020, another newer film. This one's called The Last Matinee.
Yes, I have seen this one.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have. A lot of people probably haven't heard of this one, so you can probably pile on my love for it. Hopefully you can. Hopefully you didn't dislike it.
Yes, I thought it was awesome.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. This is a Spanish language film. Also, I think it also has the title of Red Screening, but it's about this rainy day in 1993. There's a girl named Anna who takes over for her dad in the projectionist booth of a small failing theater that her family owns. And again, it's a failing theater. There's only a couple people in the theater to see the afternoon movie. And while the movie plays, people start getting killed one by one. If you like movies like Scream or films that have characters who like films, I think this will be right up your alley. If you like giallo movies, it's right up your alley there. The killer look it's definitely like I Know What You Did Last Summer, with the raincoat, the black gloves.
Yes.
One of the things that this movie does really well is we spend a good amount of time with the people in the theater before the killing starts. And I think that's the fact that it takes its time getting into things is really a benefit. We get to meet like a kid who's not supposed to be in the theater, a couple of old guys there to watch movies, two people on this date that's not going well, and then a couple of high school kids. But the kills are really brutal. There's a lot of blood. We get slashed throats, stabbings, a skewering. There's some eye trauma in here. There's a really cool shot of this guy getting his throat cut while walking out for a cigarette break, and the smoke just like pours out of the throat slash, which I thought was great. And it sounds like The Ranger has this in common, where there's just like a really cool look to the movie. The aesthetic in The Last Matinee is very neon, and the people in the theater, they have this certain glow from the projection screen that I just really adored in this. And I just love this movie. It's directed by a guy named Maximiliano Contenti, who had directed a lot of short films before this. I'm excited to see what he does next. I don't know that he has anything on the docket. His IMDb profile doesn't show anything. I'm sure he's cooking something up. But if you're into physical media, this disc has a bunch of the shorts that he did before. And you can see that he's just super talented. So yeah, my slasher film is The Last Matinee from 2020. You liked it too, it sounds like.
I did. In fact, I was sitting here trying to rack my brain of where I saw it. I couldn't remember if I saw it at a festival. And if it was the film where at one point when they walk out of the theater, there's a neon sign for a hair salon behind them. And I could not forget it. I also love neon signs and using it to cast that kind of light. Yeah, it's an awesomely designed movie.
Jill, we got our creature feature up next. Creature feature / monster movie, one of my favorite genres. What do you got for your creature feature?
I tried to do a lesser talked about film again. Exists by Eduardo Sanchez, who Blair Witch Project, a huge director.
Brian?
Yeah.
When was the last time you felt the tender touch of a woman?
Brian just needs to be touched by another human being.
Oh, leave Brian said sex life alone.
Leave Brian alone! You ladies gonna get down next? Whoa! We are officially in un-GPS territory, look. Yeah. Rolling deep in the woods. Bro, your uncle has a cabin out here? Yeah, dude.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Trust me, guys, it looks a lot better than daylight. You gotta be kidding me, man.
I went out and I bought one of these bad boys. We're gonna have the best YouTube video ever. Looks like a little love walk going on. I shouldn't be shooting this. What the hell was that? There's something over there!
I'm a huge fan of the original Blair Witch Project. And I've loved most of Ed Sanchez's work. He did like Lovely Molly. I'm trying to think what the other ones were, but not lots of, like I think Blair Witch is an incredible found footage film that it can never be done on that good again. But so Exists is a found footage film, and it's about it involves Bigfoot, and that's really all I knew going in. I was incredibly skeptical because I was like, oh God, how are they going to do found footage again? Because they already are the kings of doing it once. And I was very skeptical of a Bigfoot film working. I love Bigfoot as an idea, but it not being funny, because this is approached in like a serious way. I mean, there's a tiny bit of comedy in it because it's like a group of teenagers in the woods and they run into a Bigfoot. And but the found footage, actually, that approach worked incredibly well. And it's like because it's filmed that way, we only get glimpses of the monster, and I found that awesomely effective because I don't want to see it too much. That's kind of, I think, the monster movie thing that we say, like the Jaws thing, like hold it back from us as much as you can.
Yeah, less is more.
And so it was just like, I remember even the specific sequence where they're riding their bikes and this like creature's running through the woods, and so you're just barely getting a glimpse of it, like because all the movements happening and through the trees, and it was just such an incredible like realization of the idea. I was like, wow, this is actually works so fucking well. And then I love how a lot of monster movies and Bigfoot especially, ultimately those are kind of more sympathetic stories in the end, and about how we as humans misunderstand them and turn them into monsters when they weren't trying to do anything wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
So I love movies like that where that's kind of the message about monsters, and that's definitely happens here in its own way. I mean, I thought it was just blew me away. I was so skeptical of it and found it incredibly touching in the end and badass.
That's another one I haven't seen. You're giving me all kinds of stuff to add to my list here. I appreciate
I really
that.
tried. I was like, I can't do any obvious ones for any of these.
No kidding. And that's the beauty of having somebody who loves horror on this. You get some of those deep cuts. My creature feature is not really a deep cut. It is in theaters now. So it's brand new. I'm going to be as vague as possible with this one. I'm not even going to describe the creature aside from saying that the design is unique and terrifying. Have you seen Barbarian?
No.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything more.
You better not spoil it.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything because I'm very adverse to spoilers. All I will say is that it is a really interesting setup. Justin Long is in this movie, and this is a career best performance for Justin Long. I am not even joking when I say that I think he should be considered by the Academy for his performance in this. I know he won't be because they don't like horror movies for some reason, but he plays his character perfectly. And again, to say more about his character would be kind of getting into spoiler territory. Bill Skarsgård is in this. Most of you probably know him as Pennywise from the new It movies. He's fantastic in here. Georgina Campbell is in this as a character named Tess, and she's really, really great. And the film just takes these weird left turns at points that if you walked out to go to the bathroom and then walked back in at a certain point, you might think you were in a completely different movie. And for some reason, it just works. Like, it's just awesome. The film is so gripping, keeps you on edge the whole time. The atmosphere is really, really tense, and it's legitimately unsettling. It's really scary. And after it was over, I saw it was written and directed by Zach Kreger, who was part of the Whitest Kids You Know group, the sketch comedy group. And it's just so cool. Like, with him and Jordan Peele, the sketch comedy kids are coming with some serious horror chops. And his comedic roots do shine through here. There are some laugh out loud moments. And it also plays with genre tropes based on the actors who are in it to like subvert expectations, like Jordan Peele did with Allison Williams in Get Out. It's also got a lot to say about how men and women are forced to approach similar situations in completely different ways. I can't say enough about Barbarian, but go watch it, and go watch it with an audience. I'm sorry I had to be so vague with this one, but you need to get to the theater and see this movie with a crowd because it is a blast.
Man, I have got to see it ASAP.
Yes.
I normally try to see any theatrical horror that Thursday that it comes out before anyone starts talking about it. It's like the internet will ruin it for me.
Yep. I didn't spoil anything. You might even debate the category that it's in. So after you see it, just let me know and we can chat about it a little bit more.
Awesome. I've got to see it this weekend before it gets too late.
Yes. All right. We've got our last pick here. This is a wild card. We can throw whatever we want out here for this. What's your wild card?
My wild card is a film from last year, or, technically, I don't know if that's the theatrical and then it came out officially this year, but it's called Censor by Prano Bailey Bond.
This depiction is dangerous.
Come on, ain't it?
I'm cutting it.
Butchery, sadism, murder.
A wave of depraved and corrupt horror video.
Confusing fiction with reality.
Doug Smart, producer, Ident Investment Films. Maybe Enid could watch my latest Frederick North submission. Wanted a woman's eye on his film.
It's a film out of the UK. You've seen it?
I have it on my shelf right now.
Awesome. I don't even know where to begin. So Censor actually started as a short film, like my movie, The Stylist. I like to brag because although her movie's way cooler than mine, probably. It's
I wouldn't say that, just different than yours.
Her short was out the same year as mine, so it's kind of cool that we followed the same trajectory with our shorts to feature. But so Censor is about a woman who works as a censor for like censoring films in the UK back in the 80s when, it went on for longer than that, but when they were incredibly harsh on censoring films, like, even the original Texas Chainsaw didn't come out in the UK till like the late 90s, I believe. And so, these films would get dubbed video nasties, which was really a badge of honor for horror movies and made everyone want to watch them. But so it's about a woman who works doing that, and a certain film and project leads her. It's hard to describe it without spoiling it as well because it's so new.
Right.
But specific film leads her on this journey that connects to her own past. So it's a film which manages to be badass horror movie while also having this like extremely intelligent depth and emotional depth to it, with incredible performances, and like the lines between reality and what's a movie and reality blur, and it just becomes a madness. It's a hard movie to describe, I feel like, without just telling you the whole thing. It's incredible, fucking incredible. And Second Sight Films, I believe, put out a badass Blu-ray. Is that what you have?
I have the Vinegar Syndrome. Second Sight, I think, did put one out overseas.
Which is UK. Okay, Vinegar Syndrome did it here. I need the physical copies still. I go around championing the film everywhere, and I don't have the physical yet, but I've watched it many times.
This movie's great. If you're into the video nasty culture, which a lot of horror fans probably are, this is an essential viewing. It plays with formats, it plays with aspect ratios. It's got it reminds you of all these horror movies that you've seen before, just in a new way. And the disc from Vinegar Syndrome is packed. It has 2 commentaries, a ton of different features. It's amazing. So yeah, definitely seek that out. And it's part of their Vinegar Syndrome Presents line. So I think they're the ones who like distributed it.
Yeah.
And it's a great package. For a second there, when you said it came out last year, I was thinking, boy, we might have the same Wildcard. We don't, but mine follows similar things. I think it came out in festivals in 2020, had a wide release last year in 2021. And outside of Top Gun Maverick, this is my favorite discovery that I've seen this year. It is 2021's Spontaneous.
Hey, Mara.
This is the guy. This is Pick Dylan.
Ew! You sent her a pic?
No, that would be gross.
He sent me pictures of Richards.
That's worse.
Tell me something, just for me.
First time I saw you, Jed tried wrapping his arm around you. It was a good first impression.
Caitlin was cute, airy, hardly a reason to pop like a zit.
What happened? Caitlin exploded.
What? Like a bomb?
No, like a balloon?
What?
Will I get these back?
Do you want these back?
And the hell are they gonna let us out of here?
When they know it's not gonna happen again.
Then what's gonna happen again?
It happened again a lot. Listen, everyone's scared. Duh.
Kids are literally blowing up.
Have you seen Spontaneous?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, I avoided
this.
this.
To my top of my list.
You got to watch it. Out of all the movies on my list, this is the one I feel most strong about. This is a film that I avoided initially because the poster is bad. Like when it's streaming on Prime right now, and when you pull up the movie on Prime, the poster, it's a bad poster. But don't let that trick you. It is an amazing film. It's a coming-of-age love story where you have these students at a high school that begin exploding, like spontaneously combusting at random times. It's like not all at once, like one student blows up and everybody's like, what happened? And then the next student doesn't blow up for like a week. So nobody knows why it's happening. The FBI comes in, scientists come in, and we're trying to figure out why this is happening. But there's these seniors named Mara and Dylan, and they are falling in love during this stuff that's going on. Now, I've said it before on another podcast, but if you'd have told me that I'd be crying at the end of a film with the premise of people randomly popping into nothingness, I would have told you were crazy. But the love story and the characters in this film were so touching and so endearing that I almost immediately wanted to watch it again. And for me, that almost never happens. The main characters are played by Catherine Langford and Charlie Plummer. And they're so genuine, and the relationship is so heartfelt. The film goes to some dark places. It's fairly lighthearted, but there is a scene of intensity that kicks off the third act that's going to shock people. And the third act is really people dealing with the event that's happening. All the supporting cast members are fully realized and interesting, including but not limited to a group of trope-busting supportive football team, like players on the football team. They're hilarious. There's a set of weed-dealing twins. Mara's parents are great, played by Rob Hubel and Piper Perabo. It's just a really, really great movie. It was written and directed by Brian Duffield, who wrote and directed Underwater, which could have easily been my Creature feature. He's super talented. He brought the best out of these actors. Made me instant fans of both of them. Catherine Langford easily became one of my new crushes. Charlie Plummer basically became a new crush for me too. They're just like so talented. It's smart, it's sweet, and it's also a thought-provoking allegory for school shootings in that you can literally be with somebody 1 second and they're gone the next while you were in a place that you thought was safe. I cannot recommend Spontaneous enough. It's one of those rare movies that will make you laugh out loud and will make you cry as well.
I'm sold. I am sold on coming of age love stories and all the things that you said. But then I had to look it up. You are right. The poster is not helping anybody.
No, yeah, it's a bad poster. But you know, when you at the beginning of the show were talking about how you like movies that are really emotionally heavy, this is one that I think you're gonna really love.
Yeah, I've got to check it out.
All right, look at that. We have 10 amazing recommendations, really 11 if we talk about adding The Stylist onto your list of Halloween must-watch movies. Jill Gevargizian, thank you so much for coming on the show. What do you have on the horizon that you can talk about in terms of what's coming up next for you?
Well, The Stylist, even though I've talked about that probably to death to everyone at this point, is still screening all over the place, which is exciting. They might have already happened now that this is screening in October or playing in October. But yeah, I'm going to a few festivals this fall for the film, and I actually I was interviewed for a documentary about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre called The Legacy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that will be part of Second Sight Films' restoration release of the movie. It's a feature-length documentary. So I was geeked out to be part of that. But also a film I have helping produce, and I did hair on for the first time. I've been a professional hairstylist for
You were the stylist.
a million years, yes. But I've never done hair on a movie. And I did it on my friend John Pada's film called Black Mold, and we shot it in March. We're deep in post-production now. Actually, John Pada, he edited The Stylist, so it's all actually most of the same team that worked on Black Mold, worked on The Stylist. So we're one big film family.
Nice.
So yeah, and I'm doing lots of writing and trying to get stuff moving, but I can't wait to be directing again, honestly.
I can't wait to see what you have up next. And I will put links to social media, and I'll put links to buy the Blu-ray for The Stylist in the show description. So go and check that out if you want more of Jill's work. Jill, thanks so much for coming on the show. I had a blast, and I got some great recommendations to put on my watch list. I can't wait to watch The Ranger.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I've got great recommendations too. I'd only seen one of your 4.
Let's put a bow on these Halloween recommendations. Our picks for Something Possessed were Idle Hands and I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle. Our picks for vampire flicks were Kiss of the Damned and Day Shift. Our slasher picks were The Ranger from 2018 and The Last Matinee. Our monster/creature features were Exists and Barbarian. Our wildcard picks were 2020's Censor and 2020's Spontaneous. This show was executive produced by Rupert Bumblestein, Musa Mahmood, and Peter Bader from the Middle Class Film Class. Remember to review Force 5 wherever you get your podcasts, and tell your friends about the show. Tell them to become list nerds with us. Those 2 free, simple things can really help the show audience grow. And of course, if you want more Force 5, you want to support me with your hard-earned dollars, head to patreon.com/Force5. You can find Force 5 on social media at Force5Pod on Twitter, at Force5Podcast on Instagram, and you can always talk film with me over on the Cinematics Facebook page. Theme song today comes courtesy of Nate Spears, and the Top 5 list bumper was produced by me with music from Audio Binger. Until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and happy Halloween.